Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're starting our early 5:30 meeting because we will be doing a closed session first, and then we'll get into our regular meeting. So we're going to start our meeting of October 20th, 5:30. And can we do roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Pache,
Present.
Councilmember Resendez,
Present.
Councilmember Deanda,
Present.
Mayor Stevens,
Present.
and Councilmember Morales is not present. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And can we get from the city attorney a reading of what's on closed session?
Yes, Mayor. 3.1, Conference with Labor Negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency Designated Representatives, Interim City Manager Jim Pia and City Attorney Mary Lerner. Employee Organization, Service Employees International Union, SEIU Local 521, Hollister Firefighters Union, HFFU, Hollister Peace Officer Association, HPOA, and unrepresented employees. 3.2, Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. Precision Grade Inc. v. City of Hollister versus Precision Grade Inc. and Everest Reinsurance Company, case number CU 2400290. 3.3, Conference with Legal Counsel, Anticipated Litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, Significant Exposure to Litigation pursuant to Paragraph 2 or 3 of Subdivision D of Section 54956.9 of the Government Code, one case.
Okay, thank you for that. So we're going to go ahead and go into closed session, and then we'll come back when we're done. So should we go in there? I think we should maybe convene into there, or should we clear? Yeah, let's go ahead and convene in the side chamber, and then we will come back here when we're done. Okay, thank you. minutes. We were trying to wrap up closed session. We're going to go into our regular meeting, and we're going to pick up where we left off. So if I'm going to ask Councilmember Resendez to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate leading us in that Pledge of Allegiance, Councilmember Resendez. Do you need to report anything out on closed sessions, City Attorney?
There's nothing to report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So just before we get started, I do want to just say that I'm going to ask that we pull 10.2 and hear that item at a later meeting date, maybe our next meeting date. Is that possible? To have it?
I think
for
the
next
request
meeting?
was to move it up to be heard right now.
To be
before
heard right
anything
now?
else. Correct.
Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and do that then. Let's go ahead and do that. Sorry about that.
Mayor Stevens.
Yeah.
And if we can adhere to the direction of the council, it's direction of the council, it's not a policy, to keep the presentation brief.
Okay. 10.2. Let's do 10.2 then.
Thank you.
Is William here?
City Clerk, can you put up the PowerPoint on 10.2, please? Good evening, Mayor and members of council. I will start this item in the interest of time. Back in February, coming to you was the San Benito Urban Area Water Plan. We have an agreement that we're part of in this water plan, and I'm hoping I can advance things. What's the secret? It would help if I turn it on. Thank you, Clerk. And so the biggest part of the plan that's not part of the plan now is that San Juan Bautista is not in, and you gave us direction in February to come back to you. Here it is, October. We are adding the addition of San Juan Bautista. And part of this whole plan is to have a regional solution with the water agreement, with Sunny Slope, the Hollister agreement, San Juan Bautista, and San Benito County Water. All your people that are doing water in terms of drought resistance, storage of water. It's a very important thing that we've worked on. Staff, Public Works, William Vi, who you'll see in a moment, has worked on. And the goal here is to add San Juan Bautista. You gave us on a unanimous vote in February some deal points, and this agreement tonight meets those deal points, and we feel it is very important to keep this moving forward. It's providing a regional solution with all the players of water into this document. Now if I can go the right way. So just as a reminder, the local groundwater has a high mineral content and salts in addition to hard water. Thanks for moving that, Clerk. Chromium-6 concentration limits. These are all things that for the sake of the Water Quality Control Board, we need to meet. Not only Hollister, but all the partners I just mentioned to you. We need to meet to fix these things, and we believe this agreement does that. How come it's not me this time, Clerk. There, help me out. The Master Key Plan was recommendations, the Accelerated Drought Response Project, or ADROP, for existing customers. And CEQA coverage prohibits the ADROP for future growth areas. implement treated water transmission pipeline from West Hills to San Juan Bautista. There was no cost to Hollister or Sunny Slope, and this has been done. There have already been some successes in the original agreement. So the purpose is to have drought resistant. We're going to have drought years again. Drought years are ahead. Project components are expansion of West Hills water treatment, 5 wells for injection, and new pipelines. And there was a capital cost. This has come down, and this is where William would have helped us. It's closer to $40 million, of which $20 million is already received in a grant. Again, for regional solutions to water. You'll see that $20 million there. Key financing, there were some bond sales, or will be some future bond sales from San Benito County Water District. And all the partners will have a responsible share to this. You'll see that per household. The goal is to make that $50 per year per household. It would be an obligation that we would shoot for. And of course, City of Hollister and Sunny Slope will get credit for past costs. And Hollister and Sunny Slope will also not pay for the pipeline to San Juan Bautista. Next steps to improve, you authorized again in February the deal points, and we have brought forward the agreement to you there. And now I'm hoping that William shows up soon, but I'm available for questions.
Okay, any questions? Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. Thank you so much for the presentation. So we're working towards a regional agreement. We have an agreement in place now. This is an amendment to that agreement, correct?
So the actual agreement in front of you, because we're adding San Juan Bautista, it's replacing the old agreement with
Sure.
a new agreement,
Okay.
as opposed to an amendment.
Okay. Can you talk more about the SECRA prohibits use of them using this for future growth? How is that so? Like, I'm hearing that the state can come in here, they can change the laws, that they can make us develop. So, in essence, if we were to charge the residents $30 million to increase the capacity of water, which is what the ask is tonight, it's going to prohibit them from servicing new development here in town. I don't know how that makes sense.
So I think, and I was just going off the flyer where SECRA coverage prohibits that methodology for future growth. Future growth, I suspect, and now that William's here getting his bearings,
Right.
will have to manage their new projects with being able to provide drought resistance. A lot of times, we're making up for the past in terms of what wasn't done,
Right.
and what wasn't done for storage.
Okay.
But I don't know if you want to add
But-
to that, William?
Mr. City Manager, real quick, if I can. If there was another council up here, if there was another board of supervisors up here, they could adopt policies to, let's say, extend the city's sphere of influence. They could adopt policies that are going to use this expansion of water services for future growth. Could they not?
Well, I think the greater issue is we have problems now that have gone on for many years. And you're going to want to solve these problems. Again, everyone who deals with water in our region are part of this agreement. Could things be tweaked? Not relating to this agreement in terms of what the obligations by all the parties are. But I do understand your point about could they throw up the apple cart and do different things. That's always possible.
Okay, that's what I would thought as well. Thank you. Mr. Villa, it says here that the total cost of the project is $50 million.
Estimated, correct.
Okay, and I heard about estimated 20 million is coming in grant.
Correct.
And then I'm assuming, let's say it's 50 million, we've got 20 million covered, the $30 million, who's going to pay for that?
San Benito County Water District is going to pay for that out of the water reliability charge that is attached to the raw water charges that we pay for the treated surface water.
Right, so the taxpayers are going to have to pay the $30 million.
The water ratepayers, correct.
Essentially, yeah. Okay, so for me, that's pretty alarming, but thank you for answering my questions.
Okay. Questions? Any questions or comments from this side? Vice Mayor, go ahead.
My questions are really just revolve around ownership and control of the property and appurtenances. Looks like the LaSalle Water Treatment Plant is going to be owned by the district. The West Hills Water Treatment Plant owned by the district.
Correct.
And A-Drop, it's all going to be owned by the district.
Correct.
And they're putting up those bonds, and ratepayers are going to be paying those back over time. My main concern is the Veolia Water West operating facility. And Hollister retaining ownership of that. Is that going to be the case? Hollister retains ownership of that? And
Yes, that has nothing to do with this agreement. What it has something to do with it because the water quality is the main driver for this entire agreement going back to when it was first started. Because the quality of the water, of the drinking water that we have in our system, affects the quality of the wastewater that goes into the plant, and then that affects the quality of the recycled water that comes out of the plant, which is used for irrigation purposes. So then it's applied back to the ground, and if it's low quality water, then that any of that water that makes it back down into the basin, into the aquifer under, it's lower quality water that's already there. One of the issues is the groundwater that we have in this area is fairly low quality water. It's very hard. So the idea is to get better quality water through blending our groundwater with our surface water. Then that improves the entire system.
okay, thank you for that. That was my main question.
Okay.
Oh, but I'm sorry. I don't know if I said, yeah, it's the ownership of the domestic wastewater treatment plant remains with the city of Hollister, and the operations of that is the responsibility of the city, and we currently have an agreement for Veolia to operate the plant for us, but this doesn't change any ownership of the domestic treatment plant.
Okay, so this is mainly potable water for drinking.
Correct,
operation.
correct.
Okay.
The other end of the spectrum, where it comes in, instead of where it goes through the domestic wastewater treatment plant, is the end of the, well, not the end of the cycle, because then it's recycled, and then it goes back down into the ground and gets pumped. So it actually just makes a big loop.
Circle, yep. But we retain ownership and
Correct,
operation and
correct.
control. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so just some points of clarification. First of all, want to make sure that that you explain a little bit further the issue with the quality of the water, and can you just remind me of this? Because I believe we had some information on this when we heard this previously earlier this year. Tell me if I'm remembering this right or not, and explain further for the public so we have a better understanding. Does it cost more for jurisdictions if the quality of the water is low rather than if it's high, or what is the potential for some increased costs because of that? I sort of remember that in the previous presentation, but can you just clarify that point and just help to remind me, and as well as the public, what that point was about?
Sure. There could be some associated costs. Now, the cost of surface water is higher than the groundwater because the groundwater is there. We don't have to purchase the water. It's there, but we have to pump it out. The main issue is compliance with our waste discharge requirements for the plant, for the domestic wastewater treatment plant, because we're held to a certain standard of what we can actually, what the recycled water coming out of the plant can contain. And if you have really hard water, generally people get water softeners, right? We have a prohibition against water softeners, at least the auto-generated kind in Hollister. But people can still go down to Home Depot and buy one and install it themselves. Nobody ever knows, right? When you do have the water softeners, that adds salt to the water. When it regenerates, it discharges that salt into the wastewater stream. So then the salts go up in the water that the domestic plant receives. There are limits on how much that water, the recycled water coming out of the plant, how much salt that can have. We don't remove salts, at least not currently at the domestic plant. That's maybe somewhere way down in the future, but it's a very expensive, it's basically reverse osmosis system and all of that. So we don't remove salt. So anything that gets added to the water after we deliver it to the customer ends up at the treatment plant and ends up in the recycled water. So what could happen is if they're adding salt and we're recycling it and then we're irrigating with it and then some of that makes it back down into the water table and then we draw that out through our wells and they add more salt and then eventually, I don't know how long it would take, eventually we would have salt water in our groundwater because we keep adding salt and we never remove it. Some of it might get removed by the soil or possibly the plants depending on what are growing, but the main thing is the compliance with our waste discharge requirements that are set by the State Water Board.
Okay, okay. And then in terms of what this does for our water reserves, again, remembering our previous presentation, can you speak to that point, like what this does for our water reserves?
Sure. The idea behind the A-Drop project, which is it's not the only part of this agreement, but that's where some of the cost comes from because of the water reliability charge. So the idea behind it is there's wet years. We have a certain allocation of surface water. When I say we, I mean all of us. San Benito County Water District actually has the rights to the water, but we have a certain allocation that they get every year. And our 100% allocation is, I want to say 8,000 acre feet per year. We can't use 8,000 acre feet currently per year for domestic use. But the excess, we have no place to store the excess because we could have 100% allocation this year at 8,000 acre feet. We have a drought year. Next year, maybe we only get 75%. Another drought year, maybe only 50%. Another drought year, maybe only 20%. It just keeps going down. The idea is in those wet years, when we have 100% allocation and we only use 4,000 to 5,000 acre feet, the other 3,000 acre feet we treat, run it through the plant. It's high quality water. We pipe it through town all the way over east of the police station. There's going to be 4 to 5 wells out there. We then inject that into the ground, into the water table, into the aquifer. And the hydrogeologists have done all the studies to estimate that if we put that water in the ground, most of it will stay there where we put it. It takes a long time for water to actually move through the aquifer. So we'll put that in the ground. In the drought years, when they cut our allocation, we'll have that water that we could draw back out and then distribute to our customers. So if you think of a big water tank like we have up on Park Hill, that's basically what this is underground, but we don't have to build the tank and it's a lot larger. So it's just a storage. So in those drought years that we can draw that back out, hopefully it'll last us until the next wet year. We'll treat more, we'll put it back down in there, and it's basically a storage facility.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to check if we have any public comments for this item.
There are no public comments for this one.
Okay, so no public comments, so then we'll move back. Do we have a public comment?
This is Dana Jacobson, the general manager for San Benito County Water District.
Okay.
He has something he wants to say, probably to add to something that I said earlier.
Just make sure that you get a yellow card. You can do it after. You can do it after, and then, yeah, so you have 3 minutes. Okay, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Thanks, man. Good evening, council members. I'm Dana Jacobson, General Manager of San Benito County Water District. I just wanted to follow up on some of the things that were said by the city manager and William here. They did a great job explaining what this is, but I wanted to provide a little bit of context and a few clarifications based on the questions that were asked here. And so one thing that I wanted to be clear about is that this is not an expansion of the water system. So we're not creating a new water here. This is just using water that we already have access to and spreading it out over multiple years in the way that William described. So we're storing water that we already have access to and for using for later times. So we're not expanding the capacity of the system. So that needs to be clear. And that relates to the comment with the CEQA comment. And so the CEQA document specifically precludes us from using this water source for future development. If that were to occur by some outside influence, then we would be subject to litigation under CEQA. And so there's some exposure there. So I just wanted to clear that up. And then with respect to what the City of Hollister's financial obligation is under this contract, it's not $30 million, it's 46% of that $30 million. And so it would be about $16, $17 million, or maybe a little bit less than that, $13 million. I can't do my math off the top of my head. And just to be clear, you're also getting a credit of $1.7 million because San Juan Bautista is buying into the system. So your obligation is more closer in the $12 million range, if I'm doing my math right. So I just wanted to be clear on that. And another thing with respect to the financial obligation is that the water district is picking up the interest portion of the debt that we have issued. And so the City of Hollister will not be obligated to pay for the interest on the debt. San Benito County will pay that, and you'll just pay for the principal.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the dais. Any further comments or discussion? Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. So does the city council have to vote yes on this tonight? They can vote no.
Yeah, yes, you have the authority to vote however you see fit.
I agree.
go
Thank you for that. So I've been here a while. It's like Groundhog's Day here in the city of Hollister. Every single time we are upgrading our water, our sewer to serve anybody outside the city limits, it's going to cost the ratepayers more money. I don't care how you spin the numbers. We've got people in this room that live in the county, that I know personally live in the county. They're going to have to cover the cost of the $30 million. This does not have to be done right now. It's an amendment to an existing agreement. We're under no legal obligation to expand the water services and then pass on the rate of that to the taxpayers. This is an excuse for more development. This is going to set very bad precedent, and I cannot support this tonight. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Resendez. Other comments? Councilmember Morales, go ahead.
So I did a study session. So my understanding is that we're not expanding, and if anyone after us comes in and tries to do that, then there could be lawsuits. My understanding was this is to improve the quality of water for residents, which many of my constituents complain about, damage to their home, to their property because of the water damage and the inability to be able to purify it in a way that's drinkable. Again, people can argue that. But more importantly, I think when we have droughts, to be able to store water and to be able to then process it so that it becomes usable. And I think when we're in serious drought situations and we get a lot of rain, people always say, well, why aren't you capturing that? Why aren't you doing something right now so you can capture it and then we can use it at a later time? Water is essential. You're seeing areas like the Central Valley that don't have any water at all. It impacts everything that we do, not only our residents, but we're an agriculture community. Water is essential for our community to flourish, to function. So that was my understanding, was ability to build capacity for us to store water when there's rain and to be able to survive when we have droughts. So that was my understanding. We're in a position where the water district is going to pick up some costs. San Juan is buying into this, so it's going to minimize the cost for us, and we're only paying principal, and they're picking up the bonds. So that was my understanding. If I misunderstood that, then can you please make sure to clarify right now?
No, that's correct. And if we don't amend this and include San Juan Bautista, because San Juan Bautista has the same issues we have with groundwater, poor quality water, and we currently receive all the wastewater from San Juan Bautista. So their water quality needs to be improved so that it keeps the wastewater water quality better, which again, back to the recycled water, keeps that water quality high. They are currently in the design for a pipeline from the West Hills Treatment Plant to deliver surface water to San Juan Bautista so that they can then blend their water the same way that the city and Sunny Slope do now. The terms for this amendment to the agreement, for this new agreement, came to council in, I'm going to say in August, and the general terms, San Benito County Water District did a presentation then about the ADROP program, and they were already agreed to by the council that, yes, we agreed to these terms, and I don't have the resolution off the top of my head, but we can look for that if you want to see that resolution, but that was already approved of the terms, not necessarily the agreement. We just wanted to make sure that all of the agencies that are involved were agreeable to those terms before they were incorporated into the agreement.
Okay, anything else, Councilmember? Okay. Anything else? Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
I just want to correct a statement that I made. We have an existing agreement. I apologize. I said this is an amendment. This is not an amendment to that existing agreement. We have an existing agreement in place. This is an entirely new agreement. So this council, if they adopt this, is going to be responsible for adopting this entirely new agreement. I just want to be clear about that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Anything else from the dais? Vice Mayor, did you have another
I
comment?
just had a
Okay,
a
go ahead.
question for Councilmember Resendez. So I'm failing to see how this is going to result in more growth, or how this is some sort of deal to.
So Vice Mayor, I'm wondering if maybe you can pose the question to Mr. Villa around that so that we get a clip, because we've already heard the concerns, right? And then they address it. So I'm wondering if
I just don't
rather
understand.
than a back and forth with Councilmember Resendez, if we could like pose the question and we can talk about it, have a conversation about that. Are you okay with just doing that instead?
Yeah, I'm just looking for clarification as to how this agreement between these various municipalities is going to create more growth in our area when CEQA kind of precludes us from using this for that purpose.
Correct. And as part of the future planning done by the Water District, they have a impact fee that they charge developers to actually pay for future needs of water. So, and one of the projects associated with that is the raising of the BF6 dam at the San Luis Reservoir. That's going to allow there to be more capacity there. That will provide more storage capacity for the district when the more water is available, and that is being funded entirely by those impact fees paid for by developers. This project is for existing customers for drought resiliency, so that we have the water available in the future during drought years, and we have it stored so we're not so dependent on getting water from the Central Valley Project, because if we don't get our full allocation, sometimes there's water out there on the spot market that you can buy from other agencies, other water districts, whoever has water stored there. You can buy that water from them and they'll sell it to you at a very high cost. This allows us to store water at the regular cost that the district pays for that water and store that so that we don't have to pay those exorbitant fees for spot market water in the future when we need more water.
Okay, thanks. Anything else? Go ahead, Councilmember.
Sure. I mean, I just want to say that I don't think it's my job to explain to anybody up here if they don't understand what they're voting on. I will tell you, we all had a study session with the staff that's sitting in the audience. I will tell you that for me, it's very concerning that we are going from an existing agreement that we do not have to go from to an entirely new agreement that's going to take us to a regional plan that's going to include Sunny Slope Water District. It's going to include San Juan Bautista. It's going to include $50 million, let's be honest, $50 million, where we do not have to vote on that. And when I've seen this happen in the past, I don't care if the language prohibits future development. We are going to increase the amount of water that we're providing on the west side of Hollister, and there's been a tremendous amount of pressure to build more houses there. Future legislation from the city, the county, the state can have you build more development if you have the existing infrastructure there. The city of Hollister has historically overdeveloped and then had to increase the infrastructure and then pass it on to the ratepayers or the citizens or the county. This is bad planning. It's bad precedent. And I will not support this because I do understand, and I've been sitting up here for years and years, exactly what's happening here. And that's why I'm voting the way I am tonight. Thank you.
And for clarification, the existing agreement, the new agreement is the old agreement with the additions, and it's a new name, so it is a new agreement. But most of what's in that agreement is from the old agreement. It was just edited. It was amended to include San Juan Bautista, to include certain things. So it is basically the same agreement, but it is a new agreement. It even has a different name. And another point is Sunny Slope, the city, and San Benito County Water District. We already in that agreement, the Hollister urban area. We're all members of that already. So it's already a regional, because it's a regional issue. The wastewater treatment plant, it's not technically a regional plant. It's owned and operated by the city of Hollister. But the water, the groundwater, and in this agreement, the surface water, it's supplied regionally. And it's a fairly small region. It's us, San Juan Bautista, and then the outlying areas, but it is a regional issue. It's the same groundwater underneath, the same aquifer, and it's the same surface water that comes across and gets treated at the plants. It's all the same water.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, yeah, I mean, I share concerns about the potential for, encouraging future growth. I also am concerned about many of the things that you outlined, future costs, the drought years. Those are very important issues too. I am going to support this because although I am concerned about the potential for growth or encouraging growth, I do think that this is a way to be proactive on some of our water issues. And my trust is in that we have the requirements that in order to use this for future growth, that you'd have to break CEQA, and then we'd have to come back and sue to make sure that does not happen. I mean, I'm not saying that right, but what I'm trying to say is that there's some parameters around how to ensure that part of this agreement is honored, and it's through the limits in CEQA. So I understand the concerns, but I'm gonna. Yeah, I mean, I think either way, there's some pros and cons to this, and I think that's where I'm going to land on this one for that reason. Yeah. Okay, anything else?
If you're prepared, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
Thank you. I move that we deny Resolution 2.2.
Okay. Is there a second on the motion? Okay, I'm not hearing a second on the motion.
So the motion fails, Mayor.
And if we can we please get a roll call vote on that?
Okay,
Thank you.
There's nothing to vote on because
There's
you
no-
didn't get a
there's no
second.
motion.
Sorry, the next one.
Yeah, okay, so now someone
So,
else can make
okay,
a different motion.
Okay, so can we get another motion?
I move to approve a resolution approving the San Juan Benito Urban Area Water Supply and Treatment Agreement with San Benito County Water District.
And a second. I'll go ahead and second. So can we get a roll call vote after that?
Vice Mayor Pache,
Aye.
Councilmember Resendez,
No.
Councilmember Morales,
Yes.
Councilmember Deanda,
Yes.
and Mayor Stevens.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1 with Councilmember Resendez voting no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so we're gonna move back up to the agenda item, presentation. I'm sorry, let me make sure that I'm at the right item number. Item number, oh my lord, 6.1, I wanted to say 8.1, it's 6.1, presentation by the Latino Coalition of San Benito County. Wait, let me, so I'm gonna actually do a quick little backtrack. We have not done general public input, city clerk, so I'm gonna just open that up. Do we have any items outside of the agenda that we have public comment on?
Yes, we do have currently 6 comments for general public comment.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Sorry about that.
Okay, our first speaker is, I think it's Sammy Weaver. Sorry, can't quite tell. To be followed by Patsy Gaska.
Good evening, City Council. I'm just going to make a statement about the presentation that's going to be presented. My name is Sam Weaver. I am the resident of Hollister for the past 17 years. I'm also a member of the Latino Coalition. I believe this is a great program, and it's going to serve a lot of unserved people, especially those who are senior citizens, especially those who cannot speak, English is our first language. And I believe that this program, if we get involved, nonprofits, fire department, city, if we all meet as a consortium to make this program a success, it would be a great program for this whole entire county. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Next comment.
Next speaker is Patsy Gaska, to be followed by Mickey Solorio Luna.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My
evening.
name is Patsy Gaska. I'm also a member of the Latino Coalition, San Benito County, and my daytime job is with the American Red Cross. I just wanted to share with you a program that we are collaborating with the Latino Coalition, is offering the community of Hollister and surrounding areas free smoke alarm installs. As you know, that one little device can save a lot of lives, and we've proven it across the United States. Our last event here, we signed up 37 households that are all needing smoke alarms. That's pretty scary when you don't have the latest in technology to keep you and your family safe. So we will continue this program. I will be getting the flyer in English and Spanish to your court clerks or the council clerks to be able to distribute it to all of you to help spread the word, because it is a free program for the American Red Cross as a gift to this community.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Patsy. Next comment.
Our next speaker is Mickey Solorio Luna, to be followed by Tony Arilla, I believe.
Good evening, Madam Roxanne and members of the City Council. I am the president of the Latino Coalition of San Benito County and a former City Council member. I'm here tonight just to remind everybody that Veterans Day is coming up. Veterans Day is very important to our community, as it is throughout the nation. We are going to have the 32nd annual Veterans Breakfast at Payne's on November 11th from 8 in the morning to 11 in the morning. So we invite you, and if you can attend, encourage a veteran to attend. Sponsor a veteran. This is many years that it's been held, and I know how important it is to our veterans, even just to sit there and go early. They arrive very early, by the way, and sit there and talk to each other. And I think it's very nice if we could see our elected officials there as well. In speaking about the Veterans Committee of the Latino Coalition is very active with veterans. And upon their request, tonight, I am requesting, for the record, the agreement that the city has with the Veterans Memorial Building. We'd like to see that agreement. I know it came up for approval, and I'm not sure if it was the beginning of this year, but when I was on city council with Ray Friend, we looked over that agreement very carefully because it does impact a lot of people besides our veterans. So tonight, I'm here on behalf of the Veterans Committee to request a copy of that agreement so that we can have some input on it. And the agreements come before you every year or every so many years. And I really believe that that agreement should be very inclusive of all veterans and community members. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Luna. Thank you. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Tony Avila, to be followed by Sandy Patterson.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm part of the faith community here in Hollister, and over this past weekend, we had a very pulverizing experience with our community. So it's time for us to unite, because a lot of us do have faith, and I am going to recite the Lord's Prayer tonight, and if anyone would like to join me before I make other comments, please do so. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, as we forgive trespassers and forgive our debtors. Again, let us, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I messed up here. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the power, the kingdom, and the power and the glory forever and ever. This past weekend, the reason why I say it is because our community has become very pulverized. With lack of respect, I see it here and hear it here with not only city council, but also in the county. So as part of the faith community, and also the experience that we did have was, again, we're not fighting against flesh and blood, but against the evil and the darkness of principalities seen and unseen. So, and we were faced with that by an ex-sitting council person. And we have to come to terms that we all here are, this is our country, this is our nation. Good, bad, or otherwise, we still need to figure out where our morals are going to be. Are we going to continue to be hateful towards one another, or are we going to try to at least have open dialogue to agree to disagree without? I've heard more F-bombs dropped at me than I had in one day than I had all for the past year possibly. And the disrespect that they had for the women that were standing in line, calling them the B words. Unacceptable. And I'm not just saying it's one party, because I wasn't across the other side. So I can imagine they may have gotten the same response. So I think as leaders in our community, we need to stand for what is right. We need to stand for our God-given morals, because each one of us has a moral, a compass that some call it. Some also call it a gut feeling. But if we can turn and stop and just think how you want to be treated. I want to be treated with respect, therefore I give respect, but also respect is earned. So I am really disappointed. Not only it isn't local, but it's statewide, nationwide. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Avila. I appreciate your comment. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Sandy Patterson, to be followed by Donna Moorhead.
Good evening, Mayor Stevens, council members, and audience. My name is Sandy Patterson Jamark, and I was at the event that Mr. Avila is talking about, where I was assaulted by a former city council member, Rick Perez, and I have no problem saying the name. Hollister, and we were antagonized. We had one little corner. It was the No King Day, and had 20 people on Proposition 50, and we were verbally and physically attacked on Saturday. And it's just appalling to me. I started in law enforcement with Hollister PD when I was 14 as a police explorer, and as a police cadet at 18. And I was the first female hired in the San Benito County history as a deputy sheriff coroner on September 1st, 1985. And I was appalled on how Hollister PD treated me. There was no professionalism. We were told that we needed to go over and ask the people from the other corner. They had 3 corners, we had 1. I said, I want him arrested. 240, 242 of the penal code. I know what I'm talking about. They refused. They refused to arrest him. He should have been in handcuffs. And this is just, if this is the level of law enforcement that we have in Hollister, God help us. We were just minding our own business when this man, just like a bull in a china closet, blowing whistle in people's faces, and come at me, and then poking me with a flagpole, a metal flagpole, and he wasn't arrested for it. I never asked if I was hurt or if I needed medical attention. The CHP officer did. He was allowed to stand above me in the old Rite Aid parking lot and scream obscenities at me. It wasn't until the CHP officer told him to be quiet. At this point, I'm afraid for where I live, because he has a friend that lives right next door. It's sad that the level of training, when I asked the sergeant, are you going to, no, we don't have enough officers. There was 3 PD officers, there was 3 deputies, and 2 CHP, and you didn't have enough? I said, when I worked for the county, just myself and a reserve, and we never refused an order for an arrest. And this is a shame. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Donna Moorhead, to be followed by J.W. Payne.
I wasn't at the event. However, I talked to Sandy Sunday morning, and
Can you start by saying your name and
my name's
thank you.
Donna Moorhead. I live in Hollister for the last 13 years.
Thank you.
And when I heard how the police department and the deputies did not assist a female on the street, I was appalled. I have a daughter. We shop in that area, and to know that you don't have any protection, that's a problem. I guess we can avoid shopping in Hollister if necessary, but I think that's ridiculous. So I would like something to happen, or them to actually step up when they're asked. The police department and the other deputies.
Thank you, Ms. Moorhead. Appreciate your comment. Next speaker, please.
Our final speaker is J.W. Payne.
J.W. Payne, the formerly new chairman of San Bernardino County Republican Party. I wasn't there, and I'm in the news here. I'll just say I was celebrating my anniversary, so it was important to be happy wife, happy life.
Yes.
So first I want to bring up is for years, when I was chair before, we used to use the Veterans Hall. And we paid for it because that's important, that we put money into our community, but also support our veterans. I would like to get that back again. Once a month, little room. Even the Democrats, if they needed to use it too, they could even have the same night, because you know what? We all need to get along in our county. I maybe disagree with some of the things they do. They disagree things but we have to get along. This is a small community, a small county. That situation on Saturday was uncalled for. Whatever the police, their part, what they needed to do, we're going to look into it. I mean, that's the reason we have check and balance. But no one should have the right to come over and physically touch another person on the street, off the street, in someone's house. That's just not right. That's not America. We should have the freedom to support what we want to support. It saddens me. Several years ago, my house was destroyed because I put a Trump sign in my house. My daughters finally told me that they were so scared to live in the house they grew up in because the hate of someone coming in and destroying my house several times. We were out of our house for 6 months and then another time 7 months. The hate needs to go away. We need to start respecting one another. Disagreeing. I mean, shoot, I got some family members I don't even agree with, but I still break bread with them because we love each other. Community. I got 30 more seconds. I'll say community, keep on doing. We got to get back to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ping. Any other speakers?
Those are all the speakers.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for all the comments. We appreciate that. And we're going to move on now to the next item, presentation from the Latino Coalition Special Orders of the Day.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to share the importance of the California Office of Emergency Services, Listos. For the record, my name is Richard Perez Sr., not Rick. So I just want to make that clear. Listos, California ensures that every resident, regardless of language, income, or background, has the tools to prepare for, respond to, and recover from disasters with special focus on farm workers, indigenous families, seniors, the disabled, and low-income residents who often are the most at risk. The Latino Coalition and Cal OES have partnered. This partnership between Cal OES, Listos, and the Latino Coalition combines statewide leadership with local trust. Since 1988, the Latino Coalition has been a pillar in this community, advocating for education, leadership, and equity. Through this partnership, we bring bilingual, culturally relevant preparedness training to neighborhoods that need it the most, making readiness accessible, relatable, and effective. So, Cal OES initiative, council members, is more than just a program. It's a culture of readiness. Listos means ready. And that readiness starts with people helping people. The initiative trains trusted community members to share life-saving information through personal networks, ensuring that preparedness is built on compassion, trust, and human connection. Disaster readiness and the importance of the Latino Coalition. Preparedness is the heart of the community resilience because disasters don't wait for anyone. Whether it's wildfires, power outages, earthquakes, extreme heat, our residents must know how to act quickly and safely. Listos provides a hands-on training that helps families create go bags, communication plans, and evacuation routes, replacing fear with confidence and readiness. The importance of the Latino Coalition of San Benito County is a trusted voice that our residents listen to and rely on. Many of our neighbors, especially undocumented, indigenous, and farm-working families, hesitate to engage with traditional government outreach but respond when the Latino Coalition reaches out in their language and culture. That trust makes Listos outreach uniquely effective and life-saving. So why should agencies get involved? To strengthen Hollister's preparedness. Collaboration across city, county agencies is essential. Our fire, police, public works, and health departments all play a vital role in community readiness. When we coordinate together, share resources, and align outreach, we amplify impact, building a model of unity and resilience that can inspire an entire Central Coast. So this is our call to action tonight. I ask for your partnership, not just in words, but in meaningful action. Support the Latino Coalition by collaborating on bilingual outreach, city-sponsored trainings, and inclusion in Hollister's emergency planning. Preparedness is not optional. It is our shared duty to ensure that every resident is ready before the next emergency strikes. So the importance of Listos. Listos represents empowerment, not dependency. It guarantees that every family has the right, not just the privilege, to be prepared. Every class, every flyer, and conversation strengthens the resilience Hollister neighborhoods, helping residents protect themselves, their families, and one another. Prepare, respond, recover together. These words define Listos' mission because preparedness speaks every language. We prepare together, respond together, recover together. When local agencies, residents, and organizations move in unity, no one in Hollister is left behind. So thank you. Mayor, council members, thank you for your leadership and commitment to keeping our city safe. On behalf of the Latino Coalition of San Benito County, I invite you to stand with us in building a stronger, safer, and more resilient Hollister. Listos, California begins with all of us. Together, we can ensure our community is truly ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richard Perez. I appreciate the presentation. So I'm going to just check in with my fellow council, just see if there's any brief questions or comments before you leave the dais.
Yeah.
Any brief questions or comments? No. Okay, so I just want to thank you for the presentation and also for the efforts to ensure that the Spanish-speaking community have access to equal information that generally the English speaking population generally has. I was really pleased when you did your press release that we had our fire department there standing with you, and our police chief was there too. So I do appreciate that visual. So I think it's important that we all work together on ensuring that our Spanish-speaking community is getting the same kind of information to stay safe and to keep their families safe. So thank you so much for the work that you guys have done on this project. It's really important. Thank you.
And likewise, Madam Mayor, I appreciate your support.
And Mayor Stevens, we do have one speaker for this item.
Okay.
Mickey Solorio Luna.
Actually, when you talk about visual effects, I wanted to bring this book here. And I was a contributor to this book that was written about the 1989 earthquake. I was downstairs at 5:04 on October 17, 1989. I was the employee in the finance department. Only Adela Gonzalez, HR, and I were in this building. Our building director at the time was Tom Berry, and he said, in case of an earthquake, this building was built in the 1800s. It's not going to the Methodist Church. It's not going to the insurance company. It's coming down. So our cars were in the back, and I said to Adela, somebody will know that we were here. And when the doors were locked, we couldn't get out, and this building was moving up and down. We felt everything. But when I finally was able to open the side door and run outside, I saw the glass coming down on the title insurance. I saw the building on 4th Street, all the dust, everything. I thought, this is the end of the world because we're not gonna make it. But we made it. We made it. And I was the one here responsible to hold that lamp for the geographic earthquake agency that came to measure that machine downstairs in the basement. I was here to open up every Saturday, Sunday, or Monday or Tuesday that Leon Panetta, our congressman, wanted to be here with all the agencies. Nobody really wanted to come because everything was moving, still moving. But if you ever have an opportunity, look at this. Look at the pictures in this book. I'm not kidding you. You're going to see Hollister. When you see the documentaries about the 1989 Loma Prieta, you're going to see Santa Cruz, you're going to see the Bay Area, Oakland, the bridge. You're not really going to see Hollister. But I'm so glad that this was written. And it was written with the help of Adele Churchill, who actually had the bookstore at that time. So in case you can get a copy of this, get a copy, because this is a remembrance of what happened here. And this is why it's so important for the Latino Coalition to join with the Office of Emergency Services for the state of California to work in San Benito County and in Hollister. So thank you, and in remembrance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Luna. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Perez, again. All right. Okay. Thanks for this. So we're going to move on to our next item on the consent agenda. So any members of the council have any brief comments or question on the consent?
I'd like to pull 8.6 because I have a few questions.
I'm sorry, say that again, Councilmember Morales. Would you like to pull it? Is that what you said?
Yeah, 8.6. I have a couple of
8.6.
questions.
Okay. Any other questions on any brief questions? Okay.
I had questions on 8.6 as well, so we'll definitely appreciate pulling that.
Okay.
And then 8.8.
Did you want to pull it, or did you have a brief question?
I'd like to pull it and just see if we can get a little bit of clarification from Chief Golding.
Okay, so we're going to pull those two items. So other than item 8.6 and 8.8, any other questions on the other items? Any brief questions? Not seeing any. Okay, any public comments on any of those items on the consent item agenda?
No public comments.
No public comments. Okay, so then can we entertain a motion for those items other than 8.6 and 8.8 on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda for the exception of 8.6 and 8.8.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, so let's start then with 8.6, a resolution approving an airport use agreement with ALEF Aeronautics, and maybe we can get if explanation if that's an acronym or if that's the name, ALEF Aeronautics Inc. of San Mateo, California, to perform testing of their electronic flying car at the Hollister Municipal Airport. So thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is Jeff Crusher, your airport director. So yes, the name of the company is ALEF Flying Car, or
Just
Aeronautics
ALEF.
Incorporated.
Okay.
Yes. And so you have a airport use agreement. They were referred to us by the FSDO, the Federal Aviation Administration FSDO office in San Jose, referred them down to Hollister Airport, and we think we can safely accommodate their testing procedures. They need a place to take their car and do kind of a hover testing where they kind of leapfrog over an obstacle. And then in the future, they would actually, the car can raise up and then transfers over onto its axis and can fly like a biplane. So there's two different types of testing that they would like to do at the airport. This was vetted by the the Airport Advisory Commission back in August, and so I'm available for any specific questions.
Okay, thank you, Will. Go ahead, Vice Mayor. Go ahead.
Well, I think, I don't know if anybody out there is an avid reader of Popular Mechanics, but we have been promised flying cars for 60 or 70 years, right? And I think everybody in this town has probably been in traffic and thought, man, how nice would it be if I could just vertically take off, fly above traffic, get to a safe spot, and land, and then continue on my journey. That would be the best thing ever. I think we've all probably thought about that. And I'd love nothing more than for Hollister to be a part of this endeavor. just the reality of things kind of sets in, and, you know, we're talking about experimental machines, testing, and I know the Airport Advisory Commission, you know, looked at this, and unanimously just was like, you know, after a presentation was like, let's go, let's do it. I'm just giving a little bit of pause because a few months ago there was a I don't know if it was a fender bender, but there was a air collision at the airport, and I know we're all here big on safety. You know, and we all have a foot in the present and would like to take a step into the future, which with ALIF, and I read through this. I read through everything. I read all weekend just about. And I like how you're taking, let's crawl before we can walk. Let's walk before we can run approach to this. And just take, just a step at a time, 30 days. Let's just see how it goes. Airport operations will come first. ALEF testing operations will take a back seat. They'll pause anything if there's ever a conflict. It sounds like there's multiple safety protocols and procedures. I guess what I'm just seeking is just a little bit more reassurance. Could I see the presentation that had the Airport Advisory Commission just all in on this?
It should be in the archives, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
should
so
be able
you,
to,
you can go
you
into
should
them.
be able to
get-
see the
right.
meeting. It was a pretty elaborate discussion, presentation, and then follow up with question and answer discussion. So it was pretty thorough.
Okay, and then I might just need a little bit of clarification here too, but maybe, city manager or Mary Lerner can help me out. So I have a representative, Mr. Watt, on the Airport Advisory Commission. Can I have as much conversation with him about this as I want, since he's my liaison?
So you can speak with him, yes. You just can't speak with more than, you can't speak with the majority of them.
I just really want to talk with my guy.
You
I
can talk with
my
your
guy
guy.
ad nauseam about
You
any
can.
of this stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
and you
fine.
also serve two roles. You're a city council member and you're a member of the public.
Okay. So that's what I'd like to say. I'd like to take a look at that, but I'm really excited about this. I'd love the approach that you guys are taking. I just want to just be a little bit more reassured just because of
Do you,
what's happened in the last
but do you
30
have a
days.
question for him today so that we can, okay.
No, that's all. I
Okay,
have.
all right.
I'd like to just review that presentation.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Morales, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for this. I'm sure it was a lot of work. I'm wondering, did our city attorney look at this for legality?
We did.
Okay, I'm confused as to the terms. So 150 gets us what? Is that like for the 3 days, for the month? It's a trial. So I didn't understand, like if somebody were to say, how much is it, the cost, right? So you have on section 2 permitted operations, operations for 2 days a week, not exceeding 8 hours per day, maximum of 16 hours per week. And then it talks about, the notice. So that's the permitted operations. And then when we go to the terms of payment, it says it's going to be a fee of $150 for facility use, but it doesn't, is that for the 2 days? Is that for the 8 hours? Is that for the whole week? Or is that for the, I didn't understand that part. So if you could clarify that for me?
Yes, it's meant to say that it's per use, so it would be per day. So it's $150 per day. And because this is primarily using two kind of quasi-aircraft ramps, our primary aircraft parking ramp, that is managed under the FBO contract. And so the FBO actually, they are more familiar with where they're parking aircraft, where the open spaces are, and whether any aircraft operations would be of interference in here. So that's why you see them referenced in the permit. And so just as they get to keep a portion of tie downs and other types of fees, they would get to retain $50 because they would actually be responsible to make sure that there's not going to be a conflict. If it was really busy on the ramp, they could actually lead the ALEF people out to the open space and kind of direct them where to be.
is that the normal fees, 150 per day? And I'm wondering why we didn't use per day.
Yeah,
instead
and I
of-
was just going to say, we can make that change. We can change the word use to day. It was just use as consistent throughout the agreement, but we can be more clear.
And is that a normal fee? I'm not familiar with the airport fees. It seems really low, but I'm not familiar.
So in reference to that, ALEF is at the Half Moon Bay Airport, and they're getting charged $100 a day. So at this point, we figured that $100 a day, because number one, remember, they may come down here and it may get busy. We are a busy airport, and they may not be able to test very much. They may only be able to test for an hour that day. So there's a lot of variability going in when you consider operations and the fact that they are going to not conflict with current operations. So if we're also CAL FIRE air attack base, if CAL FIRE gets into an emergency response, you know, the airspace gets impacted, they're not going to be able to really do much of their testing. So
Okay, those were all my questions. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions?
No more.
Okay, do you have any public comments on this one? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to then, let me just check for procedurally. So we then do each item on its own with a motion, right?
Right.
Okay, so any further discussion, deliberation on this one? Okay, so then can I just ask for a motion on this item?
Make a motion to approve resolution approving the in-airport use agreement with ALEF Aeronautics, Inc. of San Mateo, California, to perform testing of their electric flying cars at the Hollister Municipal Airport.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you for that. And then we're going to move on to the, thank you, Will. Next pulled item 8.8, a resolution approving a fire service agreement with Panoche Valley Solar LLC. Okay, so thank you, Chief, for bringing this in. Now I'm going to check in with Vice Mayor. Do you want some general information about it, or did you just want to pose a specific question?
Yeah, I just wanted to just get a little bit more clarification on it. There was an agreement years ago that just looked a lot better. We got a fire truck out of it, and I know we had a couple of guys stationed there, so there were some costs involved with that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd just like to hear just your subject matter expert opinion on it. And
Yeah, so you are correct. There was a different agreement before, but it was a different type of agreement. The previous agreement was a developmental agreement, and because they were doing construction, it had a whole different set of terms. This is now a fire service agreement. I would think of this more of like a maintenance agreement. They've already paid for the fire engine. They're no longer under construction, so having our personnel on site is no longer a requirement. Where this comes from is it's a solar farm in the county area. The County Planning Commission is looking at approving their conditional use permit. Part of that approval requires them to meet the terms of the fire service or the fire department's requirements. We have a fire service agreement with them, and this was that amount was essentially to pay for maintenance on some of the equipment, training, our prevention services that we do. Basically, a lot of stuff we're already doing. Essentially, they're paying for stuff that we're going to have to do. The difference is, like, for the inspections and some of the training stuff, instead of paying us on a per inspection fee, they're paying for this this fee up front, and then when we go down there and doing the inspections, they will not get billed for those inspections at that time. The other part to this is they understand that sometimes our response down there is a larger response, so it is more of a drain. They understand they are out of ways, and so when we have to, and we've talked about this a lot in the fire service, going down to that area there takes a lot longer. It's more wear and tear on our apparatus. It's a longer time that our personnel are out of the area. But we do this on a regular basis throughout the summer. They are just compensating us to offset some of that cost. The other thing that's included in their fire services agreement with us is we required them to put adequate water supply down there. There's not a whole lot of water. So they did, they had one tank. They've now increased it to 4 tanks with the well. And we have, per this agreement, we have the ability to use it not just for their solar farm, but any fire that we're down there on. So it's proved beneficial to us for other fires that have nothing to do with their solar farm, but we do have the access that is authorized in this agreement. So the agreement that you saw before that had a much larger amount was for a development agreement. So that was for the construction phase. This now is, think of it, like I said, more of a maintenance agreement, and that's why the dollar amount is much lower. There is already a special fund, Fund 271, that's set up for that. So essentially what would happen is that money would come into Fund 271, and then we would pay portions of things, portions of our prevention division, portions of training, portions of personnel costs, vehicle maintenance, that we can attribute to essentially servicing that area.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Any questions from, okay. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. So let me just check in any other public comments on this item. Okay, nothing. Okay, good. So I'm going to come back to the dais. Can I get a motion on this item?
Yeah, I motion to approve item 8.8, resolution approving fire service agreement with Panoche Valley Solar, Inc., LLC.
Second.
Thank you for that. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so motion passes. So we're going to move along on our agenda. So we're going to public hearings, item 9.1, ordinance for recovery of emergency response personnel costs related to DUI incidents. So can we have a staff report? Hello.
Good evening, Mayor and City Councils. Rosie Battani, Captain with the Hollister Police Department. Item 9.1, it's ordinance for recovery of emergency response personnel costs related to DUI incidents. Under California Government Code Section 53150, municipalities are authorized to recover costs associated with emergency response for DUI incidents. The government code permits recovery in cases of a DUI arrest is made and the individual is involved in a traffic collision or evading law enforcement. Staff is recommending next steps. 1, hold a public hearing and introduce ordinances to amend Title IX of the Hollister Municipal Code to add Chapter 9.50 for recovery of emergency response personnel costs related to DUI incidents. 2, direct staff to bring back resolution determining the hourly fully funded rate for the public safety personnel to be charged under the new ordinance. And then 3, schedule a second reading and adoption for the November 3rd, 2025 City Council meeting. Any questions on this?
Okay, thank you for that, Captain. Any questions for Captain? Any questions? No questions. Okay, thank you for that. Any public comment?
Just to note, you do want to open the public hearing for this
Oh,
item.
sorry. Opening the public hearing at 7:51. Any comments? from
No
the public?
comments for this
Okay.
item.
Closing the public hearing at 7:51. So coming back to the dais, any further comments or questions on this item? Or questions for the captain? Okay, so can I get a motion from some?
I move to approve 9.1, an ordinance for recovery of emergency response personnel costs related to DUI incidents as put forth by HPD.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, no opposed. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Captain. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our next item, to council business 10.1, water rate study presentation. Can we get a staff report, please?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, William Vi, Public Works Director. I was here for the start of this one, so sorry about that earlier. Reftelis Financial Consultants, Inc. is in the process of completing a study of the city's water rates. The study recommends a phased increase in water rates and charges over the next 5-year period, beginning on or about January 1st, 2026. More likely about March 1st, 2026 at this point. The proposed water rates are necessary to meet the cost of operation and maintenance of the city's water enterprise program and to provide adequate revenue to finance capital improvement projects. The last rate study was completed in 2013, with the last rate increase taking effect on January 1st, 2019. Since that time, the cost of operating the water system and delivering potable water to the city's customers has increased, and the revenue collected is not keeping pace with the expenses. The presentation that we have for you tonight will briefly discuss the process, the financial position of the Water Enterprise Fund, the proposed rates, the next steps in the process, and will include a comparison of the city's current rates and proposed rates with other surrounding jurisdictions. And we have on the line with us Mr. Steve Gagnon. He's the consultant that works for Reftelis Financial, and he's an expert in the field of water and wastewater rate studies.
Let's go to slide number 3. I'll just get right into it, if you don't mind, please. Okay, so what is a rate study? A rate study is a financial planning and rate setting process. We've been working with your staff. And the main goal for a rate study is to make sure that your water utility recovers all its costs. And your costs consist of O&M, capital, reserve planning, and debt service. And we also want to make sure that the rate study is legally defensible, and that means it meets Proposition 218. Next slide, please. Yeah, that one. And there are 5 steps in a rate study, and tonight we're in between. We're basically at step 4. We're done the rate study. We're going to present you the results. And we're about to start a report. However, we have a couple alternatives for you this evening. And what we would like is feedback from City Council so we know what to prepare, what to put in the report. And then if City Council gives us direction to move forward with the Prop 218 process, then we would prepare a public notice. We would send it to all your customers of record, wait 45 days, and then have a public hearing. Next slide, please. And so why would you do this? Basically, it's because your rates must keep up with the city's costs to serve water. And something I've found during my travels and doing this is sometimes citizens can think that a water utility is like other government services, like police and fire and so on. And just to be clear, it is not. Your water utility is known as an enterprise fund, which basically means it's a self-funding nonprofit business, where your only goal is to cover your costs to serve water. That's the goal of this rate study, is just to cover the costs to serve water. Next slide, please. And so this is probably one of the most important slides, is why do you need to increase your rates? And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 reasons here. And the first one is that you haven't raised rates since 2018. That's a long time. And since 2018, I Googled inflation, and inflation's been around 24 or 25% since 2018. So your costs have gone up at least that much and more, because you'll see that in an upcoming slide. Your costs have gone up. Meanwhile, your price to serve water has stayed the same. Next, in the next, I'm sorry, I meant the next, I'm moving down to the next line. Yes. So in the next line there, your water utility is currently operating at a deficit, which is another reason for rate increases. You have some of the lowest charges. You have the lowest charges out of the 8 surrounding agencies that we surveyed. You'll see that in a second. I already talked about inflation. Don't forget that after COVID, inflation reached 40-year highs. Okay, so that affected you. It's been, the last 2 years were very wet years, and that doesn't help you when it comes to selling water, because people don't water their lawns as much. So you sold 12% less water in the last 2 years compared to 2021. This isn't good for your revenue. Your water costs, you buy water, as William talked a lot at the beginning of the city council meeting. You buy water from 2 agencies, an urban JPA. Those water costs have gone up 148% since 2018. And your groundwater costs have gone up 175% since 2018. So that's another reason why your rates can't stay the same. And then lastly, I understand you're quite an older city, and pipes and buried infrastructure don't last forever. You have to maintain them and replace them. And you have a lot, or you would like to do a lot to maintain your water infrastructure. So those are the main reasons why a rate increase is needed. Next slide, please. And here's what I alluded to earlier. Of the agencies surveyed here, you're all the way on the left. You're the lowest, and not by a couple dollars. Okay, so 43, the next city, the next up is $62. That's just about a $19 increase for your neighbor. And then we have two proposals for you this evening, and they're shown in the two yellow bars in the middle there. If you went with alternative 1, you would be roughly in the middle. And if you went with alternative 2, you would be lower middle, I would say. You would be on par with Sunny Slope District. And I understand it's the same water as Sunny Slope, but here's the thing, is I don't live in Hollister, but I understand that Sunny Slope is a much newer area of Hollister. And so they have newer pipes. And you, I understand, have much older pipes, and so you may understand that you should at least be equal, if not more, because your infrastructure is older and requires more maintenance. Just like an older car requires more maintenance than one you just drove off the lot, your infrastructure is older and needs more repair than a brand new water district. Next slide, please. And so this is just some background information about costs across the United States. I'll just point out the blue line where it says water and sewer there. You can see across the country, water and sewer has gone up faster than other things. You see there's electricity there, there's natural gas, there's the CPI, which is general goods, meat, milk, and so on. Water and sewer have outpaced everything, and the reason why the American Water Works Association says is that as a country, we have a lot of old buried infrastructure that needs to be updated so that we can keep supplying water to our citizens. Next slide, please. And so just to recap what Prop 218 says, I won't go through each of these, but it just says a few things. You can't collect more than what you need. The revenue you collect needs to stay in the water utility. You must notice your customers and hold a public hearing before you raise the rates, and so on. So this is just a summary of Prop 218. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please. So when we do a water financial plan, we make some assumptions, and I'm going to go through a few of those assumptions. Any good utility has reserves, and we've modeled an operating reserve, which is 20% of your operating expenses. This is known as working capital. You want to have working capital just in case something happens, your billing system goes down, or there's a computer virus, or there's a human virus. You want to have some money in the bank. And lastly, you want to have a capital reserve because you usually let out contracts, and it's good to have some money in reserve to pay your contractors. So with those two reserves, ideally, you would be setting rates such that in the long term, you have around $4 million in reserve, give or take. It can vary from year to year, but generally, you would like to have $4 million in reserve. And right now, you have actually negative reserves. Okay, next slide, please. And so these are the operating expenses that were provided by the city. So when we set rates, we want to recover these O&M expenses. Next slide, please. And then here are the two alternatives that we have to present to you this evening. We have alternative 1, and I'll just go through each line. So in alternative 1, what we're proposing is that your revenue would increase 95% come January. We would set rates such that if applied for a full year, you would get 95% more revenue. Then the following year, your revenue would go up 17 and then 333. And I want to point out, you see this capital execution factor in the next line at 60%. What that means is William has, the city and William has a number of capital projects it would like to do. What this is simply saying is you can't do all of them with alternative one. You would have to cut back on some and you would do only 60% of that capital. It also assumes a loan of $9 million from your impact fee fund. So that's alternative one. Alternative two is a little less. We would set rates such that your revenue would increase by 60%, then followed by 40%, and then a few 3.2% for the next 3 years. And then you see the capital execution line. You see it says 15, 15, 20, and so on. What that means is you could only do 15% of the capital that William would like to do. Okay, so yes, the revenue increases are less, but it does come with a trade-off. You can't do all the repair and replacements that you want to do, at least not in the first couple of years. You see in the out years, you get there eventually because your revenue goes up over a number of years, and you eventually get there where you can start doing replacements. Okay, next slide, please. And then this is the capital that it goes with each alternative. You can see in alternative one, it's just under $2 million a year. But in alternative two, you can see it's cut down quite a bit. So from 1.8, you could only do, let's just call it 500,000 a year in capital. So you do have to cut back capital in alternative two. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's alternative one, and this is just showing the projected reserve balances, and your study ends in fiscal year 2030. So you're setting rates for 5 years, starting with fiscal year 26 up to 2030. And you can see, remember I talked about reserve balances a couple slides back. You can see the two reserve targets by the light green line and the dark green line. The lower one is your operating reserve. The higher one is your operating plus your capital reserve. So what we're doing here is we're setting rates such that at the end of the study period, which is 2030, you're really close to that target reserve. Next slide, please. I'm actually going to skip this one, but I can come back to it if we need to. It's a little bit in the weeds, but so I'm going to skip it for now. Next slide, please. The takeaway from alternative one is in the middle of this graph. You see right in the middle there, it says the monthly increase for your average single-family home would be $54 under alternative one. And if you use a little less water, that's on the right there, your bill increase would be a little less, and if you use more, your bill increase would be more. So that's alternative one. Let's go to the next few slides, and we'll do alternative two. Oh, I'm sorry. This is just for the sake of formality. This is just showing you the rates over the 5-year study period. So in the top table there, for a 5/8 inch meter, which is your most common meter, you have a fixed charge. It would go from $13 a month to $29 a month, and so on for the next 5 years. And then on the bottom there, you have volumetric rates, and you can see that they go up every year with alternative one. Okay, next slide, please. And then, so this is alternative two. Again, we're setting your revenue such that you see in the final year, fiscal year 2030, you reach your targeted reserve balance there, the $4.5 million. I'll point out that alternative one, I don't know if you remember the reserve balances in alternative one, but it gets you there faster. So alternative two is a little more gradual, a little more slower getting you there. Next slide, please. And then this one, in the middle of this graph here, the bill impact for a typical single-family home is $36.50. The other one was 54 something, I believe, $54 and change. This one is $36 and change. Next slide, please. And then this is showing you the progression of rates and charges over the 5-year study period, just for the sake of formality. And I believe that is the whole presentation. What's the next slide? Yes, that's it. And William and I are here for questions.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Appreciate all that information. Any questions for our presenter?
So I I know we've got two options to decide on, and, you know, costs are going up everywhere. We haven't completed a rate study since 2013. We haven't had a rate increase since 2019. This is long overdue. We're probably a little bit behind the eight ball as, you know, it relates to water rates, especially when you compare it to all of our neighbors. So one is very aggressive, and it's really difficult to ask ratepayers to, you know, almost double what they're paying now. And I understand water is something that, you know, the more you use, generally that you just pay a little bit more, right? You pay a little more the more you use. It's somewhat like electricity. Could be wrong in that, but the more you use, you pay a little more. It really is kind of a gut punch to ask ratepayers to just double their rates, since I feel like it's our responsibility to manage this process, and we probably could have gotten to this a little bit sooner, maybe a few years ago. But is there, other than just Mr. Gannon, an aggressive rate that would get us to being a little bit more whole, a little bit, you know, better equipped to fix a water main break and keep businesses open on Main Street soon and fast versus the slower route? Is there anything, any other option, or are these the ones that are the two best options that we've got to choose from?
Well, there's definitely other options. You know, you could have an infinite number of options in between alternative 1 and 2. But I probably wouldn't suggest going any lower, because you're already at 15% of your capital. You could go lower, but it comes at a price. So when you say something more aggressive, are you saying, I think you're saying something more aggressive than alternative 2, but not as aggressive as alternative 1. Is that what you're
I'm kind of
asking?
thinking something in the middle of the two.
I mean,
So can I
yeah.
just interject just briefly? So I think what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be offering direction for them when they come back, then they will be presenting. So I think the ask may be, when we're giving direction, and, you know, I want to make sure that we have opportunity for public comment and other things before we give specific direction. That could be one of the directions that we give. So we could consider that, is what I'm thinking, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions? Councilmember Morales, you have a question? Go ahead.
So I know we had the study session a while ago. I just want to, I guess, verify that some of our city residents are on like the Sunny Slope, and so they are already paying that higher rate.
Correct.
So you have, do we know what percentage of the city's already?
It's close to 50-50. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's about half. And the dividing line is generally Memorial Drive. So east of Memorial is Sunny Slope, and west of Memorial is Hollister. There's a couple of places that go over that line, but that's generally the dividing line. All of the north area, the airport area, the industrial area, all of that, that's all city of Hollister.
So I think, thank you, William. So I think, you know, if half of the city is already paying the higher rate, then the other half of the city isn't. I think at some point, whether it be gradual or with proper notice, you know, bring them up because it's only going to go up from there. So I think the sooner we bring everybody to that foundational amount, then we can really truly evaluate our needs moving forward with everybody starting at that baseline. So right now it's very disproportional in terms of what people are paying for water. And I think we really need to invest in our infrastructure. I don't want to keep saying this is an old city, but the infrastructure needs some improvement. And the only way to get there is by putting money aside. But I think the quicker we can make sure that everybody's paying about the same, and it could be slowly, it could be gradually, but I think we need to get everybody on the same page.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Dion, did you have any questions, comments?
Oh, no questions, but just a comment. Well, I just want to say that I agree with Councilmember Morales' perspective. And so what do we do moving forward from here? So what are we giving direction?
Mary, our attorney, will walk us through a little bit on the 45-day process, but just to clarify something, you will be giving us, we're hoping you give us direction on this matter in terms of where we're going, because the 45 days matters in terms of what we're telling the public on the 218 hearing. A couple things that didn't come up, but I wanted you to know, I've met with Mr. Gagnon a couple times, Mr. Vi, more than a couple of times, and it's costing, to a couple of your questions, about $5,600 a day for the others who are paying the right rate to subsidize, if you will. And so that's each and every day. And so we are looking for, and I'll let Mary talk about process, but we're looking for, I know you've heard about Alternative 1 and Alternative 2. I have my favorite, but I understand the gradualness and the concerns, but we need to kind of hone in on one of those alternatives would be the best. And to your points, I commend the council for taking this up after many years, and for staff to keep it moving forward.
Thank you.
And the reason staff is asking for a number tonight, whether that be option 1 or option 2, is so that they can get the notices sent to start that 45-day process, the 45 days running, so that you can then have the public hearing in 45 days. So when William said they were trying for January but looking more toward March, that's what's going to, I mean, you're going to keep pushing the can down the road here. And in the meantime, it is affecting your finances, that approximate $5,600 per day.
And if I could just add, some of the numbers in the presentation are a little bit old. I was just speaking with the general manager from Sunny Slope. He was here earlier for the other item. He said his rates are closer to the $97 right now. They just had a rate increase, I think, in July. So his average bill is closer to the number 1 alternative now. Just so you have all the information.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just give my little 2 cents on this. So clearly, this is something that needs to be done. I mean, we have not looked at this in a while, so clearly it has to be done. And so it's really, the question is really, how do we do this, right? I think we need to make sure that we're adding to that reserve. That's really concerning. We have no reserve, that we're in a major deficit. It is unfortunate that we're here. I agree with Vice Mayor Pache that if it had been a more gradual increase over the last several years, it wouldn't have felt like now we're having to ask for such a huge amount. And so then the pain is, it's more painful, right? And although I agree with the sentiment around it's not fair for half of the city and the other half, I do think that, Sunny Slope Water Board has their own decision-making process, and they're going to base their decisions based on what's happening there. So I want us to be a little bit careful about that, because we're not going to just follow suit with them. We want to make sure that we're thinking about what this is, the impact this is to our city, right, and to those customers, because we don't really have any control over what Sunny Slope is doing. However, I do agree in general with that sentiment that we have to be as fair, and that we should not be asking half the city to subsidize the other half. So clearly that's an important principle too. I didn't understand the part about the 45-day notice, city attorney. So I'm a little concerned about that, because I was kind of thinking along the same lines as our vice mayor, that could there be another alternative that and the reason I would want to do that, not necessarily because we would choose that alternative, but I think that it would give the public more information about doing things a little bit different. So if we started the rate a little bit lower from year 1, then alternative 2, then what would that mean in the long run, and what is it going to push out any projects? Like, how much further would that be? If we went in between the two options, what would that do for the bills? What would that do for, so I mean, I think it would show like just a variance of some of those options so that there's just a little bit more information. But I am concerned as well about pushing this out. So if we move forward with these two options, have the public hearing at that time, then other questions come up, then, and we did want to consider other options, then would we then, at that time, be starting all over again?
Let me take you through the Prop 218 process. So this
Okay.
is by law. So the public agency must mail a public notice to all property owners within the service area at least 45 days before the public hearing. Then you will hold a public hearing allowing property owners to voice their concerns. There will be a protest period where the property owners can submit written protests. That's the 45 days. There's a ballot process as well. And then whether or not that fee can be imposed depends on the number of protests. So you are initiating the process for the residents to decide if that increase is going to go forward or not. So you're putting it in the residents' hands. And it can't be, we're going to go do both. If you're going to move forward, you need to pick one set of rates and move forward with those with the notice.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it. Okay. Did you guys understand that? Anybody have any clarifying questions for Mary on that one? No. Okay. So, let me then, I'm gonna then move on if we don't have any questions to public comment. Oh, did you have another question? Councilmember
sorry.
Deanda, go
I have
ahead.
a question. I don't, off the top of your head, do you know roughly how many water main breaks we've had downtown since 2018?
Oh.
I know, sorry.
A
It's
lot.
kind of a lot.
Yeah, a lot. I've been here for 3 years, and I think downtown we've had 5 that I'm aware of. I mean, just like either on San Benito or just off of San Benito Street itself. And then we did have the big one over here by the courthouse, right? That's a little bit off. And so I would say since 2018, I'm not sure, but since I've been here altogether citywide, probably at least 10. And that's not counting like the small, like service line leaks where the connection that goes to your house starts leaking. Those are a little smaller, a little easier to fix, and those can happen on new lines, old lines. But yeah, probably at least 5 right off, either on San Benito or right off of San Benito.
What would you estimate the costs were of those 5?
It's about, I would say about $10,000 probably per break. Just because there's overtime involved, it never happens during regular business hours, right? Or it's not just contained in there. So there's overtime involved, there's all the equipment involved, that's a cost that the city has to pay. You have to open the street, all of the labor, all of that time, and then you have to purchase the materials to do the repair, and that includes not just the pipe, but in the older area, we're lacking a lot of water valves, shutoff valves, and or operational shutoff valves. So generally when we go in, when we have one of these, we try to install valves where there should have been a valve already or where there's an inoperable valve, since we already have it shut down. Because what happens is if you shut down, if you have a break between this block and you got a valve on each intersection, you just have to shut down that block. But what happens is maybe there's no valve here. And maybe this valve doesn't work. So then you got to go another street. And maybe one works, but the other doesn't. So then you have to go another street. So it expands who's affected by those breaks. And that's all part of the projects that need to be done, the CIP upgrades that need to be done is replacing the valves that need to be replaced and installing some that don't exist. It's not just the line itself, so.
Thank you for that.
Long-winded answer, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that was great. Last question. So would you say that if the city was consistently raising the rates for San Benito Water District, would we be at a deficit that we are at right now? Or
If we would have, the idea is you do a 5-year rate study, you start the next one in the 4th year of that study. So that when you're complete with your rate study, it's done before those rates expire, so that you're ready. If you need to increase, you're ready to increase. And if you do that, then it's much smaller increases. Now, what happened during COVID and the huge inflationary period and the cost of everything, you couldn't have foreseen that happening if we would have done a rate study in 2018 that we adopted in 2020, right? Because it would have, January 1, 2020, then it would have hit. So we still would have been off, but we wouldn't have had a $7 million deficit estimate at the end of this year. We would have probably just had less money to do capital, right? And we would have had a reserve had we done it at the right time. We would have had the reserve, like Steve was talking about, to cover those expenses that pop up that you weren't expecting. We might have depleted the reserves, but we wouldn't have been in a deficit. And so the idea is, once we get these rates adopted, in the 4th year of the rate study, we start another rate study. And then we adopt those rates. And then in the 4th year of that rate study, and you can always do another one if something crazy happens and you're like, oh man, everything went way out of control. You don't have to wait 5 years, but it's not cheap to do the rate study. It's a lot of work. So the general rule is 5 years, but you can always address something in the middle and do another rate study. And if you get to the 5th year or the 4th year and you do your rate study and everything's great and everything's rosy and you have a nice fund balance and you're getting your CIP done, then you just start looking at CPI increases, right? And those are generally 2%, 3%. I think last year was 1.2%. So you can look at those, just the minimal increase just to keep up with the cost of living, instead of a huge one like we're talking about here.
Thank you, Mr. Villa, and thank you, Steve, for the presentation.
Okay, thanks. Thank you for that. Okay, I have one other question. You may or may not be able to answer this, and I don't know if somebody, maybe we can get that information at a later date. For those homes, because obviously I think the major concern around any kind of rate increases, the major concern is going to be for our lower income families, our seniors who are on fixed incomes, those kinds of things, those kinds of families, sorry. Are there ways or are there programs that help low-income people or seniors that are on a fixed income who can't afford these increases to pay for that? Do we know about any of those types of programs?
I'm not sure if those programs are available or not. Generally, if you have senior citizens especially, you don't have a big family, you're not doing a bunch of dishes because you're not feeding 5 or 6 or 3 kids. So they have a lower use. Now, per the presentation, the rate's still going to increase for the lower use, but it increases less.
Right.
And if you stay in the tier 1 of that use, then it stays low. So and there are things that people can do to use less water to reduce their bill, because as Councilmember Pache said, the less water you use, generally, the less you pay.
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't change the fact that they have an increase and they may not be able to afford it. That's, I guess, is the biggest concern when because it may seem like a nominal increase for many families, but low-income families, some senior families often are not able to afford even a nominal increase. I mean, if there's any way to access any kind of information related to that could be, like information that's available when we're doing the public hearing, I think that would be great to be able to have that kind of information. Because I think what's clear, I think you're hearing from all of us that we all agree that an increase is necessary. It's really about which one. Even the lower amount is going to impact lower income and senior families more than other families. So,
Mayor,
okay.
there
Sorry.
is 211 for essential community services. You can call 211, and their website says you can get help paying bills, finding food, and locating other resources near you. So 211 is a resource, but staff can look at additional resources as well.
211 offers the information, but I wonder if we would have any specific information available on that night on specifically water bills. Yeah. Go ahead, Councilmember Deonda.
Well, also too, Mayor, well, Angie or Jen, do we have information for the Water Resources Association up at the front?
Here, no, I don't think so.
Okay. So there's programs on ways to save water and be more efficient that way, so that could also help as well.
Yeah,
So,
Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, so then let's move on then to public comment.
And we have no public comments for this item.
Okay, no public comment. Okay, so final comments or deliberation from the dais. Go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
So I know we have two options. I would recommend option number one. As time is just passing, I think we're going to end up being at option number one level. I think by the time we're done with the hearings and we actually implement, this is probably going to be not even enough to where we need to be. So that would, I think, be my recommendation. And I think as part of this process, to your point, Mayor, that was one of my earlier questions, is what about fixed income, not only seniors, but people with disabilities or, all of other issues. So I don't know if the gentleman, Steve, I think you had a really good response when I asked those questions, but I think if we can also, my concern also was that we need to do outreach and education to our community as to why we're doing this increase. Because I know, and I'll speak for myself, when I moved to Hollister, not only did I have a gigantic water bill, because it was also connected to, or the bill included our sewer. And so I saw that and I compared it to where I used to live, and that was 3 times more. But it wasn't until I asked many folks, they were finally able to give me an answer that it was attached to the, the bill included the sewer and then the whole sewer story, but also that, what does this mean and why we're doing this right now. And it is going to be a shock to our community, regardless of any increases, are shock to the community because what's happening in our community. So our community is already facing inflation. They're going to be facing increase in healthcare costs out of pocket because of HR1. They're going to potentially lose their jobs because a lot of people are going to be laid off. So there's all these other factors that we have to take into consideration. And it's not just what we do, but it's how we do it. How we're providing the information, not only what we need to do. And then I think the next step for us is to work with our community, like the Community Health Foundation or the anyways, the one across the street, the Community Foundation, to provide programs for our seniors, for our folks that have disabilities, or anyone that needs assistance. That includes Salvation Army and Red Cross and all of the organizations that can support our community to provide that assistance. But I think we do it in a from an education and from a compassion perspective. Like, we understand this is happening. We understand it's going to be hard. We understand it's going to be a huge jump. And here are all the resources in order to help with that transition.
Okay.
I think if we don't do it that way, it is going to be a punch.
Yeah, I mean, I thank you for that perspective. I think that's a really important point. However, I will disagree with you on, I personally cannot support option one. I think that even though you're right, any increase is going to be a shock to the system, I still think that a more gradual one will be less of a shock. And although that will impact the reserves and it will impact our ability to, to address the cost for making the repairs to or upgrading our infrastructure, it'll like push that further down the road. I understand that, but I just think that because as a city we did not make this decision to start these gradual impacts sooner, I think that was a big mistake, and here we are. And I just think that a more gradual, slower ease into it, for me, makes more sense at this stage, even though I understand the cons to that. So I would personally support alternative 2, based on where we're at right now. This mic. Okay. So, did you have
Yeah,
a
I just have
comment,
one last thing to
Vice
say, and you know, my gut and my head is with Council Member Morales. You know, let's just tear the Band-Aid off and raise rates and get to where we need to be very quickly. But we're not talking about tearing off Band-Aids. We're literally talking about people making ends meet, and water's an essential. We're literally talking about delivering on that service that us as a city need to provide, and people absolutely need water for everything that you need water for. And I'm definitely leaning toward the second one, because we get 60% of the way there in first year, we get the other 40% of the way in the second year, and we get close, but we just ease in, and we allow ratepayers to catch up and make those micro adjustments to the finances at the kitchen table and figure out where the money's going to come from, and obviously we know where it's going to need to go. But I think that the gradual way is going to be just a little bit more palatable to, you know, mom and dad and grandma and grandpa who are trying to get these bills paid.
Okay. Okay, any other comments, Councilmember Deanda, on this?
I think given the current circumstances of what's happening nationwide with the federal government and people already struggling as it is, if this were another time, I would probably go for alternative 1, but I just can't in good conscience support it as much as I want to, especially since, you know, I'm on the side of Sunny Slope Water District, and we've essentially been subsidizing, you know, since 2018. So, but I just thinking about how everybody's being hit so hard in so many ways with the current administration, I just have to support alternative 2. But yeah.
If I could just clarify.
Sure.
When we say subsidizing the Sunny Slope side, subsidizing the Hollister side, Sunny Slope Water District, the ratepayers don't necessarily subsidize through their water rates. It's the general fund dollars that they're paying in their property tax and sales tax and things like that we would have to use to make the water fund whole. So Sunny Slope's not giving us any money from that side to help balance. I just wanted to make sure it's clear for anybody listening that.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
Right.
and as you know,
Thank
we don't
you.
have a lot of general fund dollars to
Yeah.
subsidize. And I would like rate number 1, the alternative 1, just because I'm looking at it every day, but we can make alternative 2 work. We can get there with 2, because then at least we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we know we're going to get there eventually. We can make alternative 2 work. I wouldn't go any lower than that, because then now it's a gamble. It's a big gamble. So
Yeah.
that's just my 2 cents.
Mayor, a motion would be appropriate for this item.
We do need a motion on this one.
I
not
recommend you do a motion.
Go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
So I know this is a tough decision. Like, I get it. That was my number 1 concern about what our community is going through right now. And as a person sitting here in terms of making decisions, it is challenging, because we also don't have a lot of general fund dollars. If you all remember, we had 5 years that we're not recognizing 2% of our revenue. We are looking at a decrease of 10% over the next 5 years. We added new priorities like the rally, which is an additional, whatever you want to call it, 200,000, 400,000, 600,000 of unbudgeted new expenses. Where are we going to get this money? If we continue to take from our general fund to, plug these things, eventually we're not going to have general fund to do our basic functions. So it's the math, it will not up. It's not going to add up. So if you take from our general fund to help pay for the water, right? Because we're not going to do that, and I get it. But if we're then, over to the next 5 years, not reducing 10% and not recognizing 2% of revenue, if we are not getting any additional revenue from anywhere else because of what's happening at the federal government, and because we still need things to do in terms of our finances, we have new priorities, where is all that money going to come from? So I just want to leave you with that, because these are all difficult decisions, but we need to look at the bigger picture, and we need to make sure that we are adding up all the numbers along the way.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that. I mean, I do, though, I want to just like reiterate what William just said, that they can work with alternative 2 as well, that is a viable option as well, right? So although, yes, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to like lean on that comment as well and consider that. Okay, so let's go ahead then and get a motion. So who would like to make a motion?
I propose a motion to accept the water rate study presentation and select option 2, and give direction to staff to come back and give us another opportunity to move this forward. And
So
Okay.
there wouldn't be another opportunity to move it forward. You are literally directing them with this motion to proceed with the Prop 218 process.
move forward with the Prop 218 process with option 2.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll second it. And can we just do a roll call vote on this one?
Vice Mayor Pache,
Aye.
Councilmember Morales,
No.
Councilmember Deanda,
Yes.
and Mayor Stevens.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1 with Councilmember Morales dissenting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
William. Bye. Okay, let's go ahead then and move on to our next item. Now, let me get my bearings here. and see what we
Yeah.
have.
Mayor, item 10.3 has been pulled from the agenda.
Oh, okay. Okay, then. Okay, thank you for that. So then we're going to go into then committee assignments. Anybody have anything to report? Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Sorry, I just butted in. I totally apologize. You have a big one. You were at a big one. So AMBAG was canceled due to the League of Cities lack of quorum, so that did not happen. And just due to work commitments, I wasn't able to attend the redevelopment agency meeting last week.
And that meeting was canceled, so you didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the pleasure of attending the California League of Cities. The Monterey region was amazing how many people participated. I think it was our biggest showing of mayors and council members. I can't even tell. We filled up an entire restaurant. There were so many people, and it was wonderful to just build the relationships. We have a lot in common. I attended several workshops. How to pass measures in case we ever do need to pass a measure here, more about grants and revenue. Also, a very disturbing workshop on immigration where they talked about in Southern California how ICE and the National Guard was coming in, that people were about 50,000 people were lost between being arrested to being moved to facilities. That's a lot of people to lose. What's happening with how they're addressing children. And it is very scary. A lot of elected officials were there wanting to understand the resources. In the Bay Area, as many of you know, we have the Super Bowl, so they are expecting ICE to be there. Not sure what's going to happen, but we also know that they might be coming to San Francisco or the Bay Area. So there was a lot of concern just about how the policies are being implemented and the impact that it's having to communities in terms of children and family members and our workforce. So it was a very educational workshop. I will forward all the materials from all the workshops to all the to Jennifer, and then she can distribute them appropriately. Also had an opportunity to, take a lot of other workshops that provided just information on cities, in particular rural communities, and our health and hospital system. So it was very educational. We did not have any resolutions, so there was no voting. And again, I think it's a wealth of information, especially on what's happening. I did have an opportunity to meet some organizations that are working with artificial intelligence to make cities more efficient and effective, especially with diminishing resources. There's also one that I would like the council to consider in terms of how do we provide better care for our animals or pets. So I have some resources for that are free of cost to the city. So it's a network that provides those services. So I'll forward all that to Jennifer for distribution. And again, if it's useful, wonderful, and if it's not.
Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, share all of that. I mean, Council Member Deonda and I will be really interested in the pet services. Any resources that especially that doesn't cost us any money is very, very appreciated. And then anything on grants. I am curious to see if there was any specifics about impacts on city when there are immigration actions, and what if any of the resources were, like what were so if there's anything in that, because although it is a federal action, it could impact directly local governments. So anything related to that would be really, really great to receive. So thank you for attending. I know you didn't have to attend, and you did it voluntarily and on your dime. So appreciate that. Thank you so much, as we are working to reduce our travel costs. So I just want to acknowledge Councilmember Morales for doing that for us. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. And anything to report in any committees?
The Water Resources Association Committee will finally be meeting for a special meeting this Thursday at 4 p.m. So I will finally have a report on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, next
Okay,
meeting.
Okay, great. Okay, and then along the themes of council meetings, LAFCO was canceled, COG was canceled, Tourism Advisory will be canceled. So there's stuff there must just be a lot of things going on right now, because we're not able to get quorums and stuff. So so nothing to report on any of those, although I will be attending the CalAFCO conference in San Diego this week. And I will come back and report on that when I come back for the next city council meeting. So I'm looking forward to that conference. Okay, so that's all, I think, from committee assignments. So council reports. City manager, do you have anything to report?
Thank you, Mayor. I have no updates to report this evening.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next item, city council request for future agenda items. And so actually this is coming from me. So I got a request from an individual that works for Gavilan College to do a presentation on supporting justice-impacted individuals in San Benito County. Essentially, those are young adults who were impacted by the juvenile justice or the adult justice system, and supports that are available through this Gavilan College program, and they would like to do a presentation. So I would like to get a thumbs up on if you guys are okay with that.
Mayor, you actually have a form and a process.
That's included in the packet.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay. I missed it. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so are we doing?
You can do thumbs up.
Okay, thank you. So we're doing a thumbs up. Thank you for that. Okay, so that's on, and then I think that's it. If nothing else, then we will adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
But it wasn't listed here. That's why I got confused.